Body MSOM 602, Lesson 6 recap, Lesson 7 preview. Final week here, coming today from a hotel in Dallas, Texas. I was down here this week for Thanksgiving. I'm really blessed. Both of my kids and their spouses live about 15 minutes from each other in the same city. So how convenient is that, right? Well, this is the last week. This is it. I don't know, many of you may think this has been going on forever. For me, the classes always speed by. 7 weeks is a real short time to do it, but we pack a lot of stuff into 7 weeks, and I appreciate your patience, comments, work, and all the things that you've done over the last 6 weeks so far, going into the seventh week. Just briefly, lesson 6 had a few continuing principles in them. The first discussion board was about leaders as exemplars, and some of you gave some very good examples on this. And as we continue to look at examples of people who really represent servant leadership concepts, I think it's always good to take a look at them. But also, don't get too wrapped up in individuals, because individuals let you down sometimes. And so, not to end on a Debbie Downer here, but you really have to look beyond those things. People are fallible, and so sometimes they disappoint you. But there are always good examples of people in different situations who have provided wonderful examples of servant leadership. The other concepts in the case studies this week talked about self-leadership and talked about situational leadership. And as I mentioned before, situational leadership is actually a class I'd like to teach sometime if we'd ever put it together. Because I think it is a principle that's in short supply, particularly today, and in the hurry up, get it done society. We sometimes forget that different situations call for different leadership styles. Working with different people calls for different leadership styles, and one size does not fit all as it relates to leadership. And so, many of you began to talk about those things in your case studies. And then the last case study was really a general discussion about servant leadership and what is the true value of servant leadership given all the things that are going on in the world. And perhaps there's some examples that you've given. I look forward to reading those this week that talk about servant leadership in different areas of the world and the value placed behind them. Lesson 7 is really a light lesson. I did that intentionally. You only have a discussion board and then the final part 3 of your project to turn in. And the reason that I did that is, again, I want to give you time to incorporate all the comments that I made in part 2 of your paper. Remember, the last submission, part 3, is actually worth 20% of your grade. So it behooves you to pull in those comments. And so really focus on those this week, and also gives you a little chance to catch up from Thanksgiving. The discussion question is based upon a video that many of you may have seen before, but it talks about being the first follower. And one of the things we didn't talk about in this class, because just quite frankly, you run out of runway in 7 weeks on things, is how to cultivate followers. One of the things that I found, particularly in change management in organizations, whenever we had a large change process that was coming up, was I would go out and actually find those people who I felt could be people of influence, strategy type of people who I felt could really embrace the change that we were making and could walk side by side with me as I was walking down the pathway. Not from a manipulation perspective or anything like that, but many times people who had the ear of the department or ear of the organization, and people who had influence. And so one of the things that I think is really important in servant leadership, obviously the 10 characteristics are important, but the other element of that is developing influence strategies by finding followers on key concepts and key components. So that's very, very important as you go forward. And hopefully you'll enjoy the video that's a part of that. It's a little grainy, but I think you'll get the message. Well, here's one thing I just need to make sure that I chat with you about. I am in Dallas today. I leave for Seattle tomorrow. I'll be home for a day, and then I leave for Australia, New Zealand on Thursday. And it takes, I don't know, it takes forever to get over there. And so, really, on Thursday and Friday, I'm kind of going to be out of pocket. I'll be out of pocket off my phone all week. So the best way to contact me is via email, and I'll make sure I get back in touch with you. I may be out a couple of days, so I haven't gone totally dark on you. The one thing I do want to stress is everything needs to be in by Sunday night. I have a very short leash from the department on making sure that I get grades in, and so Sunday night is it, and Sunday night at midnight's it. So make sure that you get everything in by then. Well, I really appreciate, as I said earlier, I appreciate your focus and attention. And for many of you, this is your first course. I hope it's been a good experience for you. I hope you've learned some things as well. I hope you've taken away, if nothing else, really the 10 characteristics that Spears put in there. We spent a lot of time on those in different areas of the class. And so, as I've mentioned in previous lessons, this is not something where you're going to learn a new leadership principle every week and you're going to be an inch deep and a mile wide in those applications. I much prefer to drill very deeply into one concept. So hopefully there are some key takeaways from you on those. Take those 10 characteristics, if you will, and write them down somewhere, laminate them, put them on your desk, and then review them every once in a while. And really ask yourself, am I exhibiting those things as I begin to manage different people, different organizations, different departments? So have a great week. Again, maybe a little challenge here for a couple of days, getting in touch with me. But I will be accessible via email and then get back to you. So have a great week. Thanks.